Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Posttopostpod podcast. With me, as always, is my co-host, Chris Ronan, and we have a special guest in the house tonight, Peter Manderino from StinkySocks Hockey. Pleasure having you on.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Man, I was telling you before this, I'm just nervous being here, and I've known you for how long? Since like the beginning. You guys started in 2006, right? Did I have that right?
January 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I read 2006.
Started organized in 2006, but the first game was January 2007. So yeah, it's been a day or two.
It's been
for sure.
It's been.
When did you come on with us?
I think might have been like that same, maybe 2008.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So it was really close.
First or second year.
Right.
For sure.
Like pretty much in the beginning. And I remember when we were going through guests to have on when we started the podcast, you were like one of the first names on there. I'm like, I would kill to have Pete on here as a guest.
I'm excited about that. Thank you very much. I'm glad the day came too.
Yeah, right. I'm so glad to have you on. I don't know why I'm nervous, to be honest. Don't know why.
So you said first game was in 07. What town did you guys start in?
South Boston.
South Boston?
So yeah,
awesome.
10 o'clock game on a Thursday night.
Classic.
Started there. The season dried up there, and yeah, exactly. It's kind of the typical, right? Season dries up there around St. Patty's Day with the DCR rinks.
Yep.
So from there we moved down to Quincy Youth Arena, bumped back and forth for a while, and throughout the years, as what we were doing kind of evolved, the rinks that we went to changed as well.
And how many rinks or states, I guess, cities, however, how many do you play in now?
Good question. My best guess off the top of my head is probably 17.
17. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. All Massachusetts or New Hampshire?
All Massachusetts.
All Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we run about, and that could change soon, but we run about probably 60 games a week.
Cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
That's a lot. That's insane.
When you started with us, we were doing the one a week, right? We
Yeah.
started in South Boston, moved to Quincy, like I said. Then it was, I think that second year, we added in like that second day a week that was in Quincy on Saturday mornings.
Right.
That kind of went back and forth.
Yeah,
with
that's right.
Milton
Right.
And, so yeah, from 1 to 2 to 60 now. It's been a trip for sure.
That's awesome.
It's insane to see the growth you had, like the way you're able to take StinkySocks and just make it the way it is. It's insane. Again, we're talking about the 1 day a week to now 60 games throughout all of Massachusetts. And you also have, don't you have rinks in New Hampshire at one point?
At one point we did, yeah. We came back in trying to kind of focus on the product here, making sure that like what we're doing here is exactly what we should be doing,
right.
And giving our customers that consistent experience before we kind of reach too far.
Yeah, you don't want to overexpand, quality games. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's good to see.
Exactly.
Right.
So you always want to make sure that like you're doing right by your customers and they're the number one in terms of preserving the experience. So, we're at the point now where we are looking at expansion. What really was the prerequisite of that is knowing that we had all of our technology dialed in 100%, that would enable us to like take those next steps and give the same exact experience to Matt here in Boston, or Matt somewhere else.
Right.
So we're getting there, and we won't take that step until we're 100% there, but we're getting pretty close. But we'd love to bring what we do to as many people as we possibly can.
Awesome. So, what was your inspiration for starting StinkySocks?
It's really the passion of the game, like getting out there as much as you can. I was just having this conversation, I think, a week ago with a friend of mine. Similar question, not the same question, but, like it got me thinking about like what started the engine, right? And it was really two things. First of all, I got into playing hockey again in my 20s. The league that I got put into, there were a lot of things that weren't ideal. You'd have the organization behind it was very poor, so it was priced really high. Even back then, I mean, I don't want to date myself, but that was probably we started in 07, so it was before that.
So yeah.
It was averaging like $30 a game or like high 20s, and for that, you could have one goalie, you could have three goalies show up, you could have 4 people show up to play on your team, you could have 15.
Yeah.
The levels were the guy that just graduated college and played in D3, and somebody like myself who hadn't played since I was 13. It was just kind of a mess.
Yeah, right.
And then I had friends that that came out of another league that was just kind of known to be Fight Club. So motivating factor number one is to like create an experience that at that point me and all my friends wanted. The commonality was like, let's do something where like there's no knuckleheads, you make sure you're getting a good amount of ice time, but you're kind of, guaranteed that there's going to be a good competitive game. So,
Right.
the magic number is 10, right? Like you put 5 skaters out on the ice, you keep 5 on the bench, you got your 1 goalie per team. You make sure you always have, 2 goalies as best you can,
Right.
which can be a challenge sometimes unless you pick them up at your house,
Oh, yeah.
house and, bring them there. I'm sure you guys are the reliable ones. But there's all those commonalities, and we said, hey, let's do it, So I, took the lead, and, it all starts with booking the ice. And then what follows there is whether it starts with those initial 22 or, the over 12,000 that go through the system now.
Right.
Wow.
What it is about good people,
Right.
and commonalities. So we've been able to fortunately expand with the right people and
Right.
do that in a controlled way. And again, it gets back to like preserving that experience. But the other engine, getting back to, long story longer, when I was talking about this with one of my friends last week, is that it's that anxiety that at the end of the game's ending, and I'm not going to be able to play for another week.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where there's more to the story, but that's kind of where the business side of it came through. We're like, let's not just do one game, let's do 2, let's not do 2, 10, 20, 60. And the idea too, and for some of your listeners too, what we do, we'll get into the products, as you want to ask me about that, but our first traditional for us is not traditional for typical quote unquote men's league. And we are co-ed too, so we're
Right.
also breaking that mold. But what it is that if you want to play hockey tonight, you can find a game at your level somewhere, and you can do that every night. So it's not just about that one beer league game every week
Right.
with your team, and it can be. We do that too, but it's about accessibility. And it's also about inclusivity. So it doesn't matter if you just moved to Boston, you're, a player at his or her particular level, and we're going to put you in a game that's, has certain quality controls that's just going to make sure that everyone's at or around your level. And, you're going to get that experience every time you touch the ice. So, again, long story longer, is that one of the driving engines for me is like being able to play whenever I want.
Yeah.
Just like going to the gym, right? 'Cause- and that's also part of the story too, is that I'm not a gym person. The thought of going to the gym like makes me cringe. So, but I like physical activity. Like I get,
Yeah.
like getting out and do whatever I can, and that begins with the things that I love. So I'm passionate about hockey. I want to go play hockey, and I want to do that as many times as I can in the same type of experience, and I want to give that to everybody else.
Right. Awesome. Wow.
I've only played in your league a couple times. Now, you said that you do have the normal setup of like a beer league, but you also mentioned almost like a drop-in. Can you like elaborate on that for the listeners
Sure.
that don't
Yeah.
really know?
So we do basically 2 different game formats, the way that we break it down. And traditional to most people is like you bring a team, I bring a team, the league makes sure that like there's parity and level. The league schedules you, and you go out and play, and there's playoffs and all that, and we do that. That's called BYOT, bring your own team. So you do that, and we're very particular, rather than like scheduling it like 10 different rinks around the Metro Boston area. So if you do sign up with BYOT, you're still going to play at like 1 or 2 rinks that are really close to each other. So you still have consistency in where you're going. You still have consistency in like the nights that you're playing. We try to condense those as much as possible. And we also have, the quality controls in terms of like conduct monitoring and, leveling monitoring and those sort of things. So that's one format, and those same quality controls exist in our traditional product, which is what we call our standard games. So a standard game is essentially a really well-organized pickup. So it's we cap it at 10 skaters per team. We cap it, 2 goalies. We control all the goalie placement. Matt, I'm sure you got 100,000 text messages and phone calls throughout the years. But we do everything that we can to ensure the quality of that game. So like when you get into that game, you expect that there's never going to be more than 20 skaters there. There's almost always going to be 2 goalies. Again, the asterisk is that we can't guarantee it if somebody just doesn't show up. But then it's our responsibility at an office level to follow up on that and make sure that that isn't happening again. So there's a whole goalie no-show process. So there's a lot of processes that happen at the office level, and kind of 360 reporting with our staff in the office out to the game staff and back to us. So we're constantly moving data and making sure that we're keeping people at the right place in terms of level, making sure that the people who are on the fringe in terms of conduct aren't, going over going over the edge on it.
Right.
And making sure that if they do, then, they're being held accountable to the principles and the rules of our league. And really what that breaks down to, too, is not just about rules, it's about what our community expects.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, every time you get out there for a game, you should know what that game is going to look like.
Right.
And all the work has been done for you. You don't have to worry about anything. You just come play. You leave. You can do it, 14 times a week if you want to play a couple times a day, or you could do it once a year if you're home from college.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, you really built a league where the community in that league is all there to have fun. They're all there to play hockey, like what you're saying. And sometimes you do get those guys that come in and want to treat it like professionals, like they want to brawl and everything, but you built a community in that entire league where it's just frowned upon. Like you might not be there, but everyone on the bench and even the goal is just like, hey, like this isn't the league for that at all. Like we're all here to have fun. You can take that somewhere else, type of thing. Like, and you've done such a good job with it. Where every time I play, like I just love it. There is a competitiveness with it, and you also find like just I was telling you like ever since the beginning. There's players that I've met that to this day I'm just friends with, and it's been years. And every time I see him on the ice, I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? Like, so you brought that type of community since the beginning, and it's just amazing. Whereas other leagues that I've played in, you don't have that. You might have like a few friends that play in the league, but that's it. And maybe you like know a few players like throughout the league, but you don't text them or call them or add them on Facebook. You just see them ever so often at the rink, and that's where StinkySocks is totally different from any other league. Where you just like you have this connection with all the players. You have this connection with you because you're involved with everyone too. So it's just not like the other two leagues that are here. They're just like. I have no idea who the owner is, I just play every week. Whereas for you, it's just like, oh, I know the owner, Peter, and he's always here. And we go after a game, if we play together, we go to a bar and we have like beers after. He's just a great guy. So it's one of the best leagues or the best league in like New England for sure. And you've definitely shown why. And again, this is why I'd love to have you on here and, kind of spread the word about StinkySocks and especially for the players listening, oh, God, fuck me, players listening in that want to, like, get into hockey, especially in the New England area, go to StinkySocks, man, because you're going to find the best people there and friends, I guess, for life there, so.
Yeah, well, thank you for all the kind words, first of all, but, honestly, it's not just me, like, I might be the person who's, faces on the organization, but we have an awesome staff, and that's the game staff, those scorekeepers, referees, that's our office staff, all of our support staff. But even then, like we create the environment, like who comes, and we promote that environment where we want the right people to come. But like we've just been so fortunate through the years to keep on having the right people over and over and over again join us and stay with us because, they do find that the community values match what they're looking for.
Right.
So we can't do it without the right people.
Right, exactly. So you said throughout the years, so what helped you grow throughout the years? What helped you grow StinkySocks?
It's a really great question, and, admittedly, like we were never, and, I always hesitate saying this too, right? Like we never focused on growth. Like, sure, you want to like offer more of what you do, and we are a business, so we have like an obligation to the people who work for our company to make sure that it's financially viable. So growth is important, but where I always like hesitate is we always want to get back to like giving that consistent product to people. So like if you grow too quick, it's really easy to I guess dilute that product, and we've never wanted to do that. So we have had a really controlled growth through the years, and really we've really relied on word of mouth to get where we are. That's been the chief number one marketing tool that we've had is that coming out and give people an awesome experience and hoping that they're going to tell 10 more people and that they're going to tell 10 more people. Yes, throughout the years we've done digital ads. There's largely for us not a huge return on investment on that. We've done print marketing. We've done some like very limited direct mailers. it comes down to like if you give people a really good experience, they're your number one marketing asset. So we just then and now just really need to stay focused on doing what we do, give a great product, and then also give great customer support at the office level and be there for people when they need it. And sometimes those customer interactions aren't the ones you want to have too. Like it's that person that got caught up in a conduct issue. But even that is an opportunity to talk to somebody and show you who you are, and what your organization represents, and that we can move forward past events like that. And so every opportunity that we have, whether it be the conversations that we want to have or the conversations we don't want to have, or a game where things go right or for some reason it goes wrong and we have to correct it, like every opportunity to show people who you are as an organization, and then get them to kind of really buy into our community, is the best way that we've been able to grow.
It's totally different. So when I was coming up with that question, I was just thinking too, like, because in my head I'm like, I thought I read 2006, but even 2007, it's just like social media wasn't as big as it is now. So to grow a company with like basically no social media, what, MySpace, and that was it. And again,
and even that was probably maybe before I'm gonna have to Google it, but I don't even know if MySpace was around at that point.
Wasn't even around, And so word of mouth actually makes a lot of sense, but it's just amazing to see just word of mouth and how much it spreads. It's amazing, and it's the fact that you're still doing it today. I still see StinkySocks on your Instagram and everything, so you are promoting it, but at the same time, it is word of mouth, where even I will talk to someone and be like, oh, what leagues do you play in? My coworkers are like, oh, like, I'll just bring out StinkySocks, and they'll ask me what it is. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is it. This is the website and whatever. So it word of mouth might be like the best option to really spread things.
Cool. Yeah, so. and thank you for being one of those people that spreads the word.
Yeah, exactly.
But I hope that everybody that touches the ice is so excited that they want to go back the following night, the following week, the following month, whatever. And in the meantime, like if hockey comes up, a smile comes to their face and they want to talk about it.
Right, exactly. So what was one of the bigger setbacks that you've had throughout your business, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think we could talk about COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've all beat the hell out of that subject, but
oh my God.
COVID is probably the biggest setback. I'm trying to, obviously for everybody's lives and businesses, there's nothing else that could even like touch that, right? But I'm also trying to think like if there's other setbacks that we've had. We've been through some stuff for sure. We had a fire at our office when our office was in Dorchester. That was an interesting situation. And, so there's always been, such is life, whether it's like a business entity or it's like your personal life.
Right.
There's always going to be little bumps in the road, but COVID for all of us personally and from a business perspective was the biggest, and it's the biggest source of uncertainty for an extended amount of time. It was the 12th of March 2000 and
came to a dead stop for you, right?
Boom, that's
stopped.
When did you guys pick back up?
I want to say it was August 20th. So, it was a good stretch. And that was in a very limited capacity.
Yep.
And then, following that, for the people who are out of state, we basically were able to get back in a limited capacity to playing. And then come October, there was another 2-week shutdown.
Yep.
And then when we came back from that 2-week shutdown, the government mandate was that the curfew, but one of the parts of the curfew was that all recreational facilities have to close their door by 9:30, which means that we have to start our games by 8:30.
Yeah.
And you guys know as players, 8:30 is a
pretty early game. Yeah.
It's a youth hour.
Yeah.
And 80% of our games start after that time. So at that point, it's all of COVID was unprecedented government regulation for all of us. But in terms of being, a recreational company, even after some of the regulations were lifted elsewhere and on other businesses, we stayed highly regulated, right? Pretty much till the end.
Right.
And it's really like a one size fits all bubble too, they have to set the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I didn't disagree with any of them.
Yeah.
Did it have a huge business impact?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Did it have a huge impact on our ability to, give you the option to play whenever you want? Yeah. Like our capacity was limited greatly, and there was a huge impact to us. So, but I don't disagree with the direction that, the state of Mass took with it.
Mhm.
Their obligation is, to protect as many people from being in the hospital and dying.
Right, exactly.
And hockey, unfortunately, showed earlier on that there were a lot of irresponsible people. So it's not built around, like, what is StinkySocks doing? Because I can honestly say that we're very proud of how we handled our protocols and making sure that we were doing the appropriate things, not only the legal things, but the other things that are just common sense that you have a moral obligation for. But even some of those things are going to turn players off from coming to play because, some people just wouldn't play with a mask on.
Right.
Well, we didn't have a choice on it, So
Yeah.
if we wanted to be in business and we wanted our rinks that we skate at to stay open, then we needed to follow the regulations. And so even the hours that you did have available, you still had a cross-section of your audience that just was disinterested in playing under those those situations. So I'm kind of rambling on here, but to get back to your original question about the impact, that it was a huge impact to us as it was to, a lot of businesses.
Right.
We had a lot of uncertainty on when we were opening back up last summer. Like originally it was going to be July, and then it got pushed to August. Even again in August it was limited, and then we had that 2-week shutdown, then the curfew, and then it was one thing after the other. So it really wasn't until like March, April that we started to be able to operate in a way where we could give other people, our customers, the choice of what they wanted to do.
Right.
So we could run a game at 10 o'clock at night, and if you wanted to come play, you could. And then, of course, it wasn't until Memorial Day weekend here that we could actually take masks off and get, locker rooms open and, get back to hockey as usual.
Right.
So we're only in it for about a month now.
Yeah, so
it might.
I know, it's crazy to think.
It might be too soon to ask, but
yeah.
Being 2-3 months ago, have you seen any increase in, new members and things where two of the other major leagues around here have folded due to COVID? Have you seen anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the entire pandemic, we saw a lot of new faces, which was awesome. In the past month, it's really hard to say.
Do you find that people are still hesitant? Like less people are out there, or is everybody kind of just back in the swing of things?
I think that there's still some people who, are unvaccinated and, unwilling to put themselves in, a public position, where they could potentially contract it. I mean, I'm a numbers guy, so whether it was like any given day following the numbers throughout the pandemic or today, the odds have swung greatly, right?
Right.
You honestly have a better chance of winning the lottery here in Massachusetts than you do of getting COVID.
Right.
And, there's a lot of different reasons for that, but one of the chief reasons is, our very high vaccination rate. So we got to a good point a lot quicker than, I think anybody thought we would.
Right.
But, I think right now what we're seeing is people coming back to the sport, whether they were with StinkySocks prior or not,
right.
just because they're finally comfortable. And comfortable isn't correlated with vaccine rates. It's not correlated with all those numbers that, I look at all the time. It's just correlated with how people feel, and what their perception is on safety. And they're also doing something that they haven't done for maybe 14 months, 15 months.
Right.
So honestly, like when masks were coming off, it was actually kind of we were going to do it because we had to, had masks in place or required people to wear masks because it was required by the state. But when it kind of came off in a hurry, part of the worry was that we just got all these people back on the ice and comfortable.
Yeah.
And they're comfortable in their playing because whether or not the mask actually does anything, they have a perception of safety.
Right.
So one of my not hesitations because we were doing it regardless, but one of my concerns exiting like COVID as we knew it and all the restrictions here in Mass and going back to hockey as usual is that you might have some people who just weren't ready for it.
Right.
Fast forward a month later, I think everybody is.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
and the direction of the numbers following, you know, protocols being dropped and whatever, you know, have shown us that like we're in good shape.
Right. Have you brought in new? So you guys have really been on, especially on your Instagram. I've been seeing the BYOT, bring your own team, and I've been noticing, especially on the Instagram, a lot of like different guys that I've never seen before. Are you bringing in like new teams from like different leagues that are coming in with their own team to StinkySocks?
Yeah, we always are. You know, throughout time, like when you look at like new teams coming into StinkySocks, they're coming in a couple different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's either, you know, a group of guys that, you know, or guys and girls, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
that just decide like, hey, let's put a team together.
Right.
And then they find us, you know, whether it's online or through word of mouth or whatever, they come to us and they're like, hey, we've never had a team before. We want to start a team. You know, are you right for us? And we have a, you know, long conversation process on like qualifying whether people are a good fit, which actually kind of gets back to that growth thing too. Like it limits our growth, but we always want to make sure that we're growing with the right teams that are the right fit. So like if you got half the guys that didn't play in high school and half that just played D1, like it's really hard to find a spot for you for that, you know. Or like, hey, if you're a bunch of guys that like to rough it up every Thursday night, you know, that's fine, but it's just not the right spot for you.
Right, exactly.
You know? So, you know, we have those new people that come in and just forming teams. We do have teams that are, you know, unhappy with where they were playing in other leagues. And then we also have people that play in our standard games that decide that, you know, like a more competitive experience is for them. So they kind of organize within our locker rooms and say, hey, let's put a team into this BYOT.
Right.
And those two products are meant to complement each other too. Like, yeah, you could always just do the standard games and just, you know, go out and play when you want through no commitment hockey, you know, and you could be the person that came in on a team from another league. And then you're like, well, you know, I kind of feel like playing a second time every week because when I play once a week, I feel like I'm starting over. So they say like, oh, well, I'm going to, you know, grab a jersey and I'm going to go play, you know, through no commitment hockey, grab a, you know, standard game once or twice a week in addition to my league game. So, I mean, to get back to your main question anyways, like those, yes, we do have teams from other leagues. Not every team from other leagues is the right fit.
Right.
We do have people that just like organize and say, hey, let's do this other thing where it's more competitive and they keep stats and whatever. And then we have people that say, hey, you know, me and my buddies just moved to South Boston, and we're all, you know, looking for a league. Let's get in the StinkySocks League in South Boston.
Right. That's awesome. So how many currently right now, do you know how many rinks you're at right now for all the games?
I'm going to estimate that it's probably around 17.
17.
You know, I'd have to go through the list to see.
And that's just with the everything open right now. Is that less than usual?
No, that's actually overall. Those are all our rink partners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
okay.
in the summertime, it's actually way less. You know, we're probably at like, quick guess, probably 8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In particular, where we lose a lot is almost everything in Metro, like in Boston proper, shuts down. And they shut down around March.
What do they do with their facility? Do you know?
They just leave it dry most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, what does that do? Like, it's just wasted money. Why wouldn't they keep it running?
Yeah,
you know?
it's complicated. Yeah, and that's what I would think too. And that is the case with some rinks.
Right.
So the ones that primarily shut down are the DCR rinks.
Yep.
So DCR rinks are all, I think actually not all of them, almost all of them are in Boston proper now. Oh no, they all are. So like there's been back and forth. They've like licensed off the operations.
Right.
So they actually, quote unquote, like own like 30 rinks, I think, throughout the Commonwealth.
Oh, wow.
But they only operate a handful. And the ones that they operate off the top of my head, you know, the one in Cleveland Circle and Brighton, Charlestown, South Boston, Dorchester, High Park. I think that's it now. So they're probably just down to 5 where they own and operate. And their flagship is like Dorchester Divine Rink.
Right.
So the traditional reason why they usually stop around St. Paddy's Day is that's usually when the youth programs are stopping.
Exactly.
Right.
And they also share their staffing with beaches. So what they do is they give them a quick break and then they turn them over to beaches. So even if the rink is viable in terms of operating and you know, days like this was a little bit more humid or the hot, you know, days that we get in July and August, even if they're updated to be able to operate in those times. It really comes down to a staffing issue from what I understand with them.
Makes sense.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
That makes sense. I know, to answer your question, from the Dorchester rink, I know they do like a summer program for the kids. So when they melt the ice, they put them in that rink and they do like dodgeball and like kickball and stuff like in there. So I think they just use that for like, just like the kids summer
that's kind of cool
programs and stuff.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, they'll try to utilize it how they can, and they should. Like the South Boston one, they end up using that as a bathhouse, really, right? Like
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
After the beach and everything.
I
Yeah.
don't know what goes on at Badgeco. Badgeco's over in High Park, and I don't know what goes on. I think they just shut the doors there.
That's it.
I don't think there's anything else going on there. Same thing. Cleveland Circle might be one of those where they do something with a summer camp or something like that.
Right. Exactly.
But that's usually the reason. And then you have like there are other rinks that they have the operating licenses out for, so somebody else is operating it. And what that comes down to is what the energy costs are for the particular rink and what the demand is.
Right.
So if they can get a youth program in there doing camps, and they can get us in there at night, and those numbers match up with what their energy and staffing costs are and other overhead, then, they turn the lights on and they freeze the floor. But otherwise, they just leave it, you know. And one that they leave is FMC runs the one over in Cambridge, in East Cambridge. It's a great rink, great location, but the state hasn't done the updates there that make the numbers match in terms of energy.
Gotcha. So I don't want to age you.
No, that's fine.
At all. But so what kind of work were you doing before StinkySocks?
Same type of work I'm doing now.
Oh, really?
Which is confusing because I run a hockey organization.
Yeah.
And StinkySocks hockey is part of that. But so my education and experience is all in technology. So I went to school for operations and strategic management, which is on the business side, and also computer science, which is on the tech side. After school, I started doing tech work, and for all the geeks out there that are basically in IT infrastructure, architecture, implementation support. So I started doing government work not long after that. Started my own IT company not long after that.
Wow.
Was still doing that at the time that StinkySocks started. 2008 hit, and I was fortunate enough to be buzzing with like 85% of my business being government work.
Right.
And 2008, every non-essential contract got cut at once. So I literally 85% of my business evaporated overnight.
Oh, wow.
And that actually plays into the StinkySocks story is that, private sector, you're just spinning wheels. It's very similar in a way to like the, how the apprehensive nature of businesses spending money like during COVID because of the uncertainty. Same thing was happening back then, only it was like the financial, disaster. So just spinning wheels, just trying to get more business in private sector.
Right.
And, people always wanted more of what we were doing with StinkySocks. So, we gave it to them. And I always say we because there's more behind it than just me, right? But, that's when it became a business, really, is 2008. And that's when we started doing multiple nights.
Wow.
And that's where it started to take shape more of what you see now. So yeah, years, it's one of those strange times, right? Because like it's an area of growth, you're growing fast, but like you're also like eating Whopper Juniors for dinner every night and following your next dream. And my next dream was to, bring this to as many people as we can and make it a viable business.
Right.
So was 2008 like the jumping off point where you were like, all right, I have to go 2 feet in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's a tough decision, right? Because,
jeopardizing your whole livelihood, taking a big risk.
Yeah, and IT, like, there's always money in IT, and there's always work in IT. There's always a different direction that you can do, and I really do, and I still, stay involved with it today, and that's kind of gets into like the how am I doing the same thing today? In a lot of ways, we're a tech company that's disguised as a hockey company, so there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that's only enabled by really good staff, but really good technology too. And that's part of what we're doing right now is like, we use COVID as a time to kind of update our technology that was more legacy and aging.
Right.
And to get that modernized so that it can scale, so that we can bring that, experience to the next region. So, that's what we're still doing right now, but a lot of my day-to-day work is still in IT.
Wow.
And it's obviously everything else that's involved with hockey as well.
I feel like that has to be your biggest leg up on the competition is just your IT background. Like you said, like I don't think any other hockey league gives a shit about the technology they're using. They might be running out of a basement or out of the rink, honestly.
Yeah,
so I think that's awesome.
It is. It's definitely an advantage for us. What it does at the end of the day is help automate a lot of the manual processes that we would do to keep the wheels on. Mm-hmm. And those things are really hard to do, but it's what makes the difference. And like when you step on the ice,
right.
There's a lot of things that go into, like, we're produce those 60 games or 60 events. We're in the business of organization and event production, mm-hmm. and you can't do it without the right technology. And there's so much, like even like you think about like typical beer league, they usually just go buy like an off the shelf, program where they, schedule their teams and like it does stats and whatever else. And yeah, it gives you like what you need to do that, but like that's not going to run your business. It's going to give some people a place to go and maybe sign up and maybe check their standings and stuff like that. But I think a lot of what we do is really particular to our business. Mm-hmm. And again, getting back to like standard games and no commitment hockey, like and all the work that it takes to produce that.
Right.
There's really no software product that could do it. So we're actually forced in a position that we have to develop it our own.
Wow. That's awesome. What was I going to add to that? I was going to say, we're talking about tech, but I was going to say, do you think you look back now and realize like just putting 2 feet in the door for StinkySocks was like the best move at that time? I think it was like at that what am I trying to say? At that year, at that time, would you have like maybe one? Would you say competitor, different league in like Massachusetts? And it was just like, then all of a sudden like there's another league, StinkySocks, that comes in. Like I think the past few years, I think I've seen like 4 different leagues here. So I think adding a league to that would be more difficult than it was back in like 2008. Do you think like that was like the best time to do it?
It's tough to say, and competition's also kind of a relative term too.
Right.
The league that you're talking about that existed back then, I didn't think then, and I still don't think now that we're ever competitors.
Okay, yeah.
I think that we had a completely different product, mm-hmm. and what we were doing is broadening the market and making hockey more accessible to people who otherwise wouldn't be playing with them. So, by that token, I don't think that it was competition.
Gotcha.
It's a very interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, it's business is an interesting thing, too, where, like, I think of this, there's a place on Broadway by where I live, and, like, there's a store next door that wants to sell beer and wine, and they sell beer and wine, so they don't want to shut down their ability. They want you to vote against it because they see them as competition, right? Yeah. And, like on the surface it is like, okay, well, I'm sitting on this corner. Do I go to that store or this store? So now I've got 2 choices rather than one.
Right.
It splits the market. But really, like, I don't think it always works that way. I think that, like, if you have, using that same example, if you create, a business center where people are going to buy beer and wine, you expand the market, so everybody benefits from that.
Right.
And even now, yes, there's other leagues out there. Mm-hmm. I think that, they operate much differently than how we operate. Mm-hmm. I think in some ways we are competitors, and I think in some ways we complement and expand each other's businesses.
That's a great way of looking at it.
And the other thing I was just thinking in my head too, you call yourself StinkySocks Hockey.
Yeah.
When I think of these other leagues, I think men's league, I think beer league. I wouldn't classify you as either of those. You've made it more of a professional product, and you've also made it co-ed, which is both very unique things. So what would you describe it as?
Yeah, it's not just about co-ed either. It's about inclusive. Mm-hmm. Like it really, like, one of the coolest things that I think that we see, like, yes, we have people who played in high school and played in college and played as kids their whole lives. We have all of that. But the coolest aspect of, I think, that what I see of the people coming in is it's the people that never had access to hockey when they were kids. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate to have that. There's a lot of people that didn't. Their parents didn't want to get up and drive them to a rink at 6 o'clock in the morning. They didn't have the money for the equipment. They didn't have the money for, to put them in a league. They lived in a state or a city or a town that didn't have a rink. all those people as adults say, I'm living here and I want to do that. And they make their own decision. And honestly, like kind of put themselves in a vulnerable position that like, I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it.
Right.
And I never had the opportunity to do it before. And a huge part of our customer base fits that mold.
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether, it doesn't matter about socioeconomics. It doesn't matter the color of their skin. It doesn't matter their gender. It doesn't matter, their sexual orientation. Like it's fully inclusive.
Right.
And age is the other thing too. Like a lot of leagues bracket by age. Like, I can't be in the league with those kids running around me. They're doing circles around me. I need a 50-plus league. You don't. You just need a league that has everyone at the same level as you.
Right.
And that's another super cool thing, too. You see these, kids that are in their 20s with people out there in their 60s, and these people get in the locker room and they didn't think that they had anything in common. And it turns out that they do because they skate at the same level. And they share the passion of hockey, whether, and then that segues into other conversations about like the Bruins or other NHL stuff or college stuff. And all of a sudden you get like somebody who is 60 from a town that never would have crossed with this guy or girl in their 20s, and they're having, they're basically friends, and they're having, beers at the tavern down the road afterwards. That's the super cool stuff.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I've met so many people playing for StinkySocks at the same thing. Just like, I've been wanting to do this forever, and here I am just starting it. I think West Roxbury. I remember, God, years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I think I was playing for you guys. I think that you had the 10 o'clock in the morning game in West Roxbury.
Yeah,
right?
10 and 11. I'm playing tomorrow. You in?
Oh, really? Yeah. I got there, and there's this guy, I think he was 72, but he was because I haven't played in years, but I felt comfortable playing here, and he was a goalie playing like all Cooper gear, and I'm like, that's awesome. So we got on the ice.
That's awesome, but that might hurt.
No, he got on the ice and warming up, and everyone's just like, they're not taking bombs on him. They're just giving him like pats on the back and everything. But he only made it to like warm ups, and he had to like get off the ice. Like, I can't do it anymore. But like you bring those type of people there, whereas like the other leagues, you wouldn't see those type of people because they're just too. That's what I'm looking for. They're too scared to do it because of the like. Just the type of people that were there, be like, no, I can't do that, because they have the mentality just like, I can't play with these type of people. Whereas StinkySocks, they don't have that. The mentality for these people from the outside looking in is like, oh, okay, this is my way of fitting in and like playing a game that I've always been wanting to play, and learning and getting better. And you have that with this league.
Yeah, and we want that goalie to be a goalie for life with us.
Oh yeah,
never stop playing. And
right.
That's become my motto. Like as I age too, like. If you stop playing, it's hard to come back. But you can still make that decision to come back.
Right.
But you should never stop playing. Like, if you're passionate about it, you enjoy it more than you do so going to the gym like me, right?
That's definitely me, too.
Yeah, you got to make it happen. You got to make time for it. You got to, you got to make it happen, and you can,
right.
And everyone's, has control over that. But the example that you give gets back to like that expanding the market, though, because that guy gets back in because he's comfortable. Now he's more comfortable, more confident as time goes by. We want him to be, goalie for life with StinkySocks hockey.
Right.
But, he may choose to, back then he might have chose to go over to that other league and also play a night there.
Yeah.
And so that's an example of expanding the market. That competitor, quote unquote, has actually gained from the expansion of the market.
Right, right. So I guess to move on from this, you have Bruins Daily. What is Bruins Daily?
So in a nutshell, I guess by the technical terms, so we're an NHL credentialed news organization that covers the Boston Bruins.
Wow.
that would be in a nutshell.
So the NHL Network is partnered with you guys?
No, the NHL Network?
Yeah.
No. So we're independent media.
Okay.
So we're credentialed by the NHL.
Okay.
And we're
I follow.
credentialed by the Boston Bruins.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Cool. And we fall somewhere. We don't use the term blog because we're truly not a blog. We are, I guess, new media.
Okay.
In the way that blogs are, but we're also more towards traditional media in terms of how we report. So, yes, there's opinion, but it's more, fact-based reporting
Okay, gotcha.
than like a lot of blogs would do.
Where can people access this?
BruinsDaily.com.
Perfect.
Yeah, and part of what we do in the business model on that side of the house too is that we will produce content for other news organizations. So Bruins content you might have read is probably been produced by us, but you thought you were reading it from that news organization.
Gotcha.
Oh,
So
wow.
an example for that is we do most of the NHL Bruins coverage for Boston.com. So when you're reading
Oh, okay.
Boston.com, you're
Which is
actually
huge,
reading
yeah.
Bruins Daily.
Wow, that's huge. That's amazing.
Do you guys get credited on that or not really?
So I don't know what the bylines are reading right now. The idea is that we don't, though.
Gotcha.
You know,
Makes
the
sense.
idea is that, you know, and that kind of is a you know, bigger explanation of like where news media is at and where I see the you know, opportunities to provide value in that market. But one of them is that, you know, entities like Boston.com, you know, have been kind of in a cycle of how they can maintain a beat reporter and provide like highly focused content. And
Seems like it's like
and-
mutually beneficial kind of thing.
yeah,
Right?
well, you know, it's expensive, and it's expensive to send a beat writer to travel. And the question becomes like the revenue streams from ads in the early days with Boston.com, for example, I think would have been much higher than they are today. And as those revenue streams changed, their ability to kind of keep on beat writers also changed. And I think there was, and I'm not talking specifically about Boston.com. I'm talking about the
Right.
market in general. What ended up happening for a lot of the smaller organizations is that they had to really figure out how they were going to get really good content. You know, not have to go to the wire for it, meaning like the Associated Press, which is going to be like more like non-specific diluted content. Not to disparage them because they do a lot of good work too. But like if you're a hockey fan,
Right.
you know the difference between reading something that has meat in it
Yeah, right. Exactly.
and something that's just going to tell you what happened in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So beat reporters provide you with that, but they're expensive.
Right.
And you know when revenue streams are drying up, like you're forced in a position where you're probably going to go with a freelancer, and that freelancer is covering NASCAR and you know soccer, hockey, basketball, wherever they can
Right.
you know fight to get a piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and some of that, although you know with different individuals, hockey may or may not be their expertise. So long story longer again is that well, the value that we provide in news media market is giving them the flexibility to essentially do staff augmentation. Like our staff takes on-demand content orders and produces that for them under their brand, and that could be videography, like locker room interviews. That could be photography from the game. That could be you know written content, and it's all done under their brand as if they had this dedicated NHL team you know, in their newsroom, and we're doing that for different organizations.
And is BruinsDaily.com, are you guys on social media at all as well, or no?
For sure, yeah.
Awesome.
So everything that we do on BruinsDaily.com is in addition to what we do for other clients.
Okay.
So what you're seeing there is all the stuff that we're doing for our fan base for free.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be different than what you'd read, you know, on one of our customers' sites.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. So, are you guys partners with the Boston Bruins organization?
No, we're completely independent media.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
But StinkySocks, you're not either?
So
I remember going to events where there's a lot of like Bruins. You had Renee Raincoat at one point,
Yeah.
and like a bunch of
I
like
miss that
Bruins
guy.
people,
That's
right?
awesome. Yeah. So no, we've never been like associated with, you know, like directly associated to have business ties or anything like that with the team.
Right.
We've always had partnerships with them and the Boston Bruins alumni and, you know, fundraising initiatives.
Okay.
And,
Yep.
you know, so we've done a lot with the Boston Bruins alumni charitable organization, and then also with the, you know, just the you know the Boston Bruins fundraising efforts as well.
Right. That's awesome.
So
Yeah. If for the people who don't know and would like to go, I mean, those fundraisers probably next year, maybe.
yeah, it's been on pause for a little bit, right?
Yeah, right.
And not just due to COVID. We were talking earlier about this, about one of our events that we would normally do yearly, and we kind of put it on pause to get a reset on
Yep.
it. And our charitable events, we did the same thing with.
Mm-hmm.
So they should have been back next year. Maybe they'll be back this year, but at some point we'll get that revved up again.
I remember it got bigger, and this was like the one year I remember not asking you where it was, because it was always at the Cask and Flagon right across from Fenway Park.
Oh, you didn't just go over there, did you?
I did. So I took me and my girlfriend. We were over there, and I think we got there a little early. So we're like, let's have dinner. Maybe like we'll go over there and see where they are, because that little area that there is. So we go over there. And
this party's really dry.
Yeah, it's like, wow, they're really losing guys
no
coming
turnout
over
on the
here. No
fundraiser.
turnout. So I remember
showing up this year.
I can't remember if I called you or someone, but I remember they're just like, "Are you at Cask and Flag?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, dude, like we're in the where were you? The waterfront? I think it's the waterfront.
We moved around a little bit.
Yeah, I think at one point you're in the waterfront, and I was like,
there
"Oh
was
my God."
so it was in the Seaport.
Yeah, Seaport.
That place
Yep.
was really cool. It's the old fish market at
Yes,
the end of the
yep,
pier.
Yep.
I can't remember what year that was, but it was a super cool location.
Yeah, it was,
awesome.
it was a bunch of people too. I'm like, yeah, there's no way you can fit this many people in Cask and Flag.
What was the
Second go
fundraiser
quick.
for?
They have you guys have a bunch of different
So
fundraisers
that year
throughout.
was for the Boston Bruins Foundation, and
Putting you on the
trying
spot
to
here.
think here. Yeah, no, it's the Boston Bruins Foundation, which we've done a lot of work with in the past. And Swoop over there does an awesome job, and the amount of organizations that they assist is just fantastic. But that year it was split between them and Good Sports, which
Right.
is another local organization. They're based in Quincy, and do an unbelievable job to get sporting equipment
Right.
in the hands of underprivileged kids, or
Right.
kids that otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to play with new, fresh equipment and get in the game.
Right. It's such a great event to go to. It's so fun. It's like, again, like for the years that I've been, you got Rene Court, and like in the beginning, everyone goes silent when he gets the mic and he's doing the national anthem, and everyone's just screaming like, yeah. And then you have Bob Sweeney, or is it Don Sweeney that's there too?
Yeah, Bob Sweeney.
Bob Sweeney is there, and everyone's just it's just a great time just all around. So next year, definitely when it's back, I'll definitely be over there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So
a lot of good nights.
Oh my God.
for sure.
Oh,
and
yeah.
for good reason.
Oh
too.
yeah.
But yeah, we're looking forward to getting back to that stuff.
That's awesome.
The world's looking forward to getting back.
It
to
is.
that
Oh my
stuff,
God,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
I'm noticing that on the train. I work on the commuter rail. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
Yeah, But I've noticed it, like, as soon as, like, everything was back, my trains went from, like, 10 people max, and I'm now bringing in, like, over 300 now. So people
Yeah.
will just want to get back to normal. That's what it is. So,
Big time.
so definitely,
We're getting there, slowly but surely.
slowly but surely, we're beginning there. So you run tournaments like Boston's Best and Spring Breakaway. What do you think the benefits out of running tournaments like that?
Just a lot of those tournaments end up being in April, May.
Yeah.
It's when youth hockey's done and more weekends become available. I can't tell you like how many calls we get. Like, oh, I'd love to do a tournament. Can you tell us what you got going on in September and October?
Yeah, right.
Like, yeah, we can get you in a youth tournament. If you want,
Yeah.
make some calls.
Want
but-
to tool on some kids? Let me know.
But it's like it's impossible to get weekend ice.
Right,
It doesn't matter what market you're in. But here in Boston, like this Boston area, like youth hockey is hot.
Right.
And we're lucky to grab an hour or two, to run our standard games, here and there. But like in general, like you can't get a block of like 12 hours of ice.
Right.
So they end up being in April and May. And to get back to answer your question more specifically, like the benefits of doing that is for a lot of people, I think it's kind of like the end of the season.
Right.
And even if the season starts back up again from the summer,
From there.
because we go year round,
Yeah.
but like it's the unofficial end of the hockey season.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's a great opportunity for people to get out there, and the weather's getting nicer too.
Right.
So like, play a game, put your sweat gross equipment out on the asphalt and let it dry in the sun as you're having,
Right.
couple beverages, and
I was gonna say,
have
like,
some good laughs with friends, or maybe they're not even close friends. They're just people you see in the locker room, right?
right, exactly.
But now you're able to spend like a whole weekend just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
you
Like,
know?
you have, I know now, it was just originally Quincy Youth and then Andover, but now you have Quincy Youth, Andover, and what was it, where the Bruins play now? Warrior Arena.
Warrior, yeah.
And those are the best times, man. Like, I know you were talking about not be able to get like October or whatever, but like summertime is just perfect. Like
Yeah.
you go inside, you watch hockey, you play hockey, go outside, and it's just cars are just people just hanging out. Just you could smell the gear like as soon as you leave, and like everyone's just grilling, drinking, having like a great. It's like the best time to do it. It's so fun. I love doing it. Like I remember like at one point I didn't have a team, but I was just calling everyone like, hey, you need a goalie. Like I'll be the second. I'll be on the bench. I don't care. I just want to be there.
Or you'll be at the tailgate. Just make
I'll be
sure
at- yeah,
everyone's
I'll-
ready for
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
else.
Be working the grill.
Yeah, let me know
Everybody
if you need a break.
needs that guy. So, and then if somebody gets hurt, you're in. You know. But yeah, they're a ton of fun, and they're grueling for staff because there's so much going on everywhere. And in the early days, I always used to play and run it. Which
Gets harder and harder each year, doesn't it?
I can't.
I remember
do it
those
anymore,
days.
honestly.
I remember seeing number 5 Manderino on the ice all the time.
Hey, good memory.
Oh yeah.
But my legs are junk, because you're running around from like 6 a.m. Then you get on the ice for like your noon game, and you're on your feet all day.
Right.
And it's and then multiple locations. You're also like flying between them. You're like grabbing a coffee where you can, and I don't know, like you end up not being your best self on the ice. So last year I stopped doing that, or like the year prior to COVID, I should say, 19. But they're also becoming bigger, right? So like before we used to just have Quincy, and then it was Quincy and Phillips Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And now next year is going to be a crazy year. I can't like formally announce what we're doing yet, but like it's tournament wise, it's going to be awesome.
Ooh, little teaser, huh?
Oh.
Nice. Awesome.
So stay tuned for that. But for the people that are listening from elsewhere, if you got a team, it's going to be the type of thing you want to travel to.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's
Cool.
awesome.
Cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back. Again, like I was telling my new schedule starts Monday. An hour more sleep for me is
It's gonna go a long way.
it's going to go a long way,
does.
especially because we got 9, 10 o'clock games back now.
Well, the great thing about summer is that like they all get earlier, right? So the majority of our summer games start between 8 and 9.
Oh, really?
So that makes it easier for you. 10s become the outliers, and then we also do have 7s too. And then obviously the weekend games are running too. So we get the 10s and 11s that we talked about in West Roxbury in the mornings.
I don't know if you can hear my phone blowing up. It's probably StinkySocks being like, hey, can you play Monday,
exactly.
Tuesday,
Can
Wednesday?
we get you? Well, now that you got that fresh goalie jersey too. We don't have it hanging up, but
No,
you got that fresh goalie jersey.
he came
so
in, hooked us up.
the two of you
Very
guys.
nice.
Little
So,
swag bag
thing
from
I don't have
Stinky
your
Hawks.
phone
swag
number
Thank you.
bag.
Yeah,
Make sure to get that before I leave, though.
that's awesome. Yeah.
You can trust to get some text messages.
Yep. Are you at the new Thayer rink down the street or no?
We're not. No.
You're not. Okay.
No. So what we
do you do
tend to-
Hingham?
No, and we're not down there either. I mean, both of those locations we'd love to be in.
Yep.
What we tend to do, if you look at those other like 14 to 17 rinks that I mentioned, I got to do the counts after I leave. But what we tend to do is we hub in certain locations. So like rather than going up to Northern Mass and doing Phillips Academy and Tewksbury and Drake and Lowell and Salem, New Hampshire, and kind of spreading ourselves thin on all of those places, what we'll really do is find one rink that we really want to partner with, and that really wants to partner with us, and it truly is a partnership. Like
That's
what
cool.
we do.
That's
and
good.
so like we run 7 days a week out of Phillips Academy versus like a day here and a day there and a day there. And I think it also makes it a lot more predictable for our customers too. So like if you're up in that area, doesn't
Right.
matter what day of the week it is, if you're within that radius, you're going there. Obviously that changes when you get into the city because it's a denser population base.
Yep.
Right.
So like within a 2-mile radius of like Warrior, we've got Aganis Arena, we've got Warrior Arena that I mentioned, the Fessenden School.
And like you said, that makes it easier for the BYOT leagues because now the rink is that close. Doesn't matter which one we go to.
Exactly,
Right,
yeah.
right.
And we'll do so like rather than saying like you're in the Metro Boston League and one game's in South Boston and one game's out of Bentley and one game's up in Burlington and one game's down in Quincy. If you pick, say like Burlington is your place, you'll play there, or maybe some of your games with your agreement would be in like Bedford. So Bedford would be like 10 minutes from there. So we try to, and that's the furthest we would normally go. Like in Boston, we do BYOT between Aganis Arena and Warrior. and those are both rinks that are at like the highest caliber in terms of the type of facility that they are.
Yeah.
So there's a match there, and they're about a mile and a half away from each other.
Nice.
So those give us the opportunity to do bigger leagues. So there's more teams that makes it more interesting, but also like have the consistency that you're not running all over the map, and also make sure that we're maintaining the time frames. We don't really like to start. The only exception in our system of starting out after 10 o'clock is in one rink that we have BYOT, because there's the demand there and people want it.
That's
Right.
also crazy.
You know,
Like
so
9 times out of 10, my games are 10:20, 10:30.
10:30.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. You know,
No,
it's not good
that's
for
awesome.
anyone. It's not good for the staff.
It's rough. Yeah.
It's not good for the quality of the product. You know, there's a rink that has always wanted us to do 11 o'clock hours, and it really is a premier facility. You know, but if we were to do it, you know, you're getting back to like product delusion, right? Like half your team shows up, half the other team shows up. That's not a StinkySocks hockey experience.
Right.
You know,
right.
so like we really like only in times where we know like there's high demand and everyone's going to show will we do it. So we've got some 10:30 games in our entire system. Out of those 60, it's 60 a week. There's 3.
Right.
Those are the only ones that start after 10.
That's awesome.
Those are the rough ones. Like normal times, my phone blows up every single day. It just blows up. But like I try to be fair. Like if someone texts me and goes, "Hey, I got 9 o'clock denim," I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take it." And then someone else texts me and goes, "You know, we have 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock denim." And if I could do it, I'll be like, "I'm there anyway, so I'll help
Yeah.
you out." But there's sometimes like
way to be.
I'll get that like I'll do like a 9 o'clock. Hold on. Like I'll do like a 9 o'clock somewhere, and someone texts me and goes, "Can you do like a 10:30?" I'm like, God,
really
it
stretching it,
hurts. Yeah, it's
you
hurting
know?
me right now.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, you're a goalie, you're in high demand, right?
Right.
And our staff, same thing. Like a referee doesn't want to get off the ice at like midnight.
No,
you
no.
know.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone does.
There are a couple people in our system that do it professionally. That's all they do.
Yeah,
But even they're getting up for a 6 o'clock morning game.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So like I don't know. It really throws off your whole schedule.
I know. I don't know if Joe McCoskey still work for you?
So Joe is a photographer for Bruins Daily.
Oh, okay, nice.
So he was our chief photographer. He's like literally in a van down by the river right now. He's traveling the country in a van, living his dream, you know, like
That's
doing
awesome.
his thing. And so I'll see. So usually, again, like speaking normal times, I'll usually travel for about half the Bruins games, and then wherever he is, like if it matches up, I'll see him in an arena doing our photography.
That's awesome.
You know,
I know.
so it's really cool.
I know. I follow him on Instagram, and I've seen some of the rinks, the arenas he's been at. I'm like, oh my god! And yeah, I see photos of. I didn't realize he did it for Bruins Daily. I knew he was taking photos of Bruins, but I didn't know it was for Bruins Daily. That's awesome because some of the photos that you guys put up are just unbelievable. Like it's just high quality stuff that you guys.
So
put
is
up.
it the stuff you're seeing from him? It's NHL stuff, like NHL arenas.
Yeah, from like different NHL
so that's
arenas,
all it
yeah.
is. Like that's all stuff with Bruins Daily. But he also does a lot of skateboarding photography now too.
Yeah, I've noticed that
so
too.
he's fantastic at what he does. He's a great human being. He's just living his dream right now. You know, like I said. So unfortunately, we don't see him as much.
Right.
But
He was
he
such a
tends
good
to be
guy.
out west because like when you're living in a van, you don't really want to be in Alaska. You know.
No.
So or Massachusetts for that reason, for that same reason. But yeah, so I'll typically see him like he'll show up for like the Vegas Golden Knights game.
That's awesome.
Out there, or we might see him in like Phoenix. He tends to be in those areas. Those are the like out there is like skateboarding hotbeds. So he's doing that, and then it's just it's easier to live in a van.
Right. That's awesome because the reason why I brought Joe up because I remember he was working for you at one point where I think we'd get off the ice in Dorchester or something like that at like 10, and he's like, just getting his stuff together. Like, I got to be up at 5 for 6 o'clock somewhere like 6 in the morning. So I remember he was just like that guy to go around, kind of check on everything and skate at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's just. It's a lot of work, but if you're doing it for work, like it's not work at that point. Like if it's something you love to do, it's not work.
Yeah, he actually didn't even like at that point technically work for the organization.
Oh, really?
Yes, but you look at like again we've been around holding games since 2007, right? It's a long time period, 14 years, over 14 years now. So you look back in like different time periods and different things that happen at different times. And thank you, sir.
And what you end up getting is, like you mentioned Joe, right? It seems like a time period that was so long ago, but like Joe and I would go skate 7 days a week. You know, like we would, like the
Just
two of us, I'd pick him up, and same deal. Like we'd get off the ice, and he was had a software job. It was in Randolph, and like he'd get up early and do his day job every single night. Like him and I would go to a rink together. That's when I was in the best shape of my life. Again, you know, I was still eating those Whopper Juniors, trying to live the dream, but at least I was in the best shape of my life and working them off.
I think we talked about these coming into play.
It's especially during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God.
Especially like when you're not doing anything, you realize how much the beers catch up
Holy
when you're like,
crap.
wow, hockey did a lot for me when I was, normal.
The worst
Yeah.
part is we started this like not middle. Yeah, I'd say like
Yeah.
middle of COVID, and it was just us two. But I remember going back to like original episodes, like, oh my God, because it was just all like the Jameson and stuff that I was drinking. I'm like, oh God.
it became like a normal part of your life, I'm sure. you
Right.
know.
Oh, it was bad.
Those were dark days.
But they catch up, and so that's, again, we were joking around earlier about that, right? And Matt, you were saying that you're not really into like the heavy beers, these guys right here. So
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
this guy's,
thank you very much for bringing out these beers from Treehouse. I appreciate
you got
that.
it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. 8.7 though, right? Like I don't even know all like the numbers behind that are gonna do all the wrong things here, but like holy crap, like if you're doing like 4 of those a night.
That's all you
And
need.
So during COVID too, like so I was living up in Vermont. I was lucky enough that
Craft beer central.
Yeah, and that's the problem though. Like they're all so freaking good. So like there wasn't a night during like the work stoppage where I didn't have at least 2 heavy beers. And that's at night. And you look back on it, and you're like, oh, like am I an alcoholic? Do I need to?
Yeah.
I need to look deeper into that. And you gotta, and it's we're all going through that time of uncertainty, and like the comfort for me is that at the end of the day, like I was enjoying like a really nice beer,
Right.
And I really enjoy the flavor, and there's so much good stuff going on in brewing up in Vermont. I mean, all over the world right now, but like Vermont is just one of those
Had my
places.
first Teddy Topper the other day. I
Yeah.
hadn't had one before.
Yeah.
It was really good. I
Fan
liked it.
favorites. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's good stuff. But yeah, like those guys were earlier in the game up there, and they killed it. You know, they absolutely killed it, and they put a great product out. And that's why it's so sought after. But to roll it back in, like when you do that like every day for an extended amount of time,
It was bad.
it adds up. And at that point, like sure, like I was getting out and hiking, but there is nothing, like everybody listening to this right now can identify with this. I'm sure you guys too can.
Oh my
too.
God, yeah.
There's no replacement for a hockey workout. None.
No, nothing.
And even like the first time walking back into the rink, you're like, oh, thank
Yeah,
God.
the
Because
smell,
I waited
good or
like
bad.
almost the whole time during COVID. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was just being super careful. My wife and I just had a baby.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was like, I'm just not going to risk it. It's whatever. I've waited this long.
Sure.
I can wait a bit longer. But first time walking in, I was like, oh, thank God I'm back. And then I got on the ice. I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm terrible.
Yeah, well, that's the other part of it, right? But yeah, there's and getting back to like those things that drive StinkySocks, right? Like that one day a week when I'd get out there and like was anxious because I only had 10 minutes left until the next week, and like,
Right.
it's the like I remember like the different periods in time in my life where I stepped back on the ice, and there's like if you ever been in a rink, and I'm not talking about the gross locker room smells, but I'm talking about like the smell of the ice,
Like the crisp
Yeah,
air,
the
right?
crisp air.
the
Yeah.
dry crisp air.
Right.
But there's like I can't put my finger on it, but everybody and everybody listening there, when you step on the ice, you smell that. It's like nothing.
Nothing
like
better.
That,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you experienced when you came back from not playing for so long.
Yeah.
And, when I did too, and it's funny because I can also you'll remember that moment for the rest
Gives
of
me
your life.
chills, like just talking about
Yeah,
it. It's
exactly.
weird. It's
Yeah.
so lame
It
to
is.
say, but it does.
But
Dude. It does.
that's how you know you love it.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is like, like we play hockey because we love it.
Right.
And the great workout is really like secondary, right? But it's you don't even realize you're working out.
It's like working out with a purpose. That's why I don't
Yeah.
like the gym. You pick things up and put them down like Planet Fitness says.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And
This is
it's-
like- there's a goal.
It's hard
This
to
is
lose that attention.
Yeah.
Like I lose my, attention to like being in a gym. But like rolling it back to hockey, like you're out there and like you're in it.
Right,
like
exactly.
and you're
Yeah.
focused and like there's a team goal and like there's just nothing like it. And so like during COVID, my only way to like try to burn these things off was to go hiking. And I love hiking. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But even like literally hiking a mountain like pales in comparison to the workout that you don't even know you're getting on the ice.
Which is kind of insane to even say, too.
It
You
is.
know what I mean?
It is. But
Like I go to the gym almost every day, but it's been like mainly cardio, kind of working on legs because I want to get back into hockey. But like I could do an hour and a half, 2 hours of cardio, and just like but it would again pale in comparison to just an hour of just like being on the ice and skating as a goalie. Just like I feel way worked up, and that hour of hockey
Yeah.
than I would be doing 2 hours of cardio at the gym. So it's a total different workout. And you know
It is.
it's so good. So
now,
good
if you
for
guys, so I've played goal, you know, like admittedly, like, you know, I'm glad I did because every skater should get that perspective,
Mhm.
and every goalie would appreciate their skaters to get that perspective. But have you guys ever skated out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you've been on the other side of the fence too. So it's like two different workouts though,
Oh,
It
yeah.
is,
and
yeah.
both of them are unlike anything else.
They're
Right.
both endurance workouts, too, which is weird. Most people think, like, the goal, yeah, you don't really move 4x6, you're in one spot. Yeah, you are moving
No.
just as much as those guys,
Right.
and it's
Big
weird
time.
to say, you know?
Yeah, and the way that I felt about it, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but and again, this is like a 2-year time period in my life versus like you guys.
Wait, you played goal for 2 years, like,
Yeah.
consistently?
Yeah,
Or, like, you're
once
playing
a
out
week.
goal?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool,
You know,
cool.
back and forth.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
I remember
So
those days.
that was back in the days when I was skating
Oh.
like 5 to 7 days a week,
Yep.
and you know, so I'd pick up in net like once a week, and so like what ended that for me isn't that I didn't enjoy it, I didn't have the right equipment. I ended up getting they were awesome, they're great pads, but they were Tosca's pads, and there was no landing gear on them. So like
Oh.
every time and I was wearing them in a butterfly style, right? So like every time I would go down, I would basically slam my knees off the ice, and so I didn't have the right equipment,
Right.
and I stopped playing because my knees were getting destroyed,
Right.
and I never bought the right equipment, and I enjoy skating out so much that I just continued
stuck
with
with
that,
skating
you
out.
know? But my feeling back then is that when you were in net, it's the equivalent of like a weight workout versus like skating is the equivalent of like a cardio workout.
Right.
you
Right.
know? That's how I felt about it. You've got so much gear and it's so heavy, and you're up and down, you're up and
Up
down,
and
you're
down, up and down. Right.
you know, where you're skating, like it's heavy cardio.
Right. Right.
You know.
And it's worse.
Do you guys feel that way though?
Yeah. Especially like tournament wise too, because tournaments like you don't really have that time to air your gear out. You just like you play like 2 or 3 games like a day, and by like the second or third game, like that equipment is so much heavier, so it's just like it weighs down on you. So like you don't think like you're doing a lot, but at the same time you are trying to pick that gear up and just like moving side to side with all that like heavy gear on, especially all that sweat too.
It's a ton of work.
Yeah.
You know. And I give you guys credit on it. You're moving around weight. You really are.
Right.
Every time you make a move or go down and come back up.
The stuff's getting lighter and lighter, though. You wouldn't believe it. The
Oh my
pads,
God,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
unbelievable.
Well, that's the
You can
problem.
pick it up
Though.
and
I
throw
don't
it.
want to try it because
Yeah.
then I'll like be in for another $3,000.
Yeah.
So, like, you know.
Yep.
These things are costing me enough money.
Yeah.
so, you know.
What do you think, Matt? You want to send it over some NHL talk?
Yeah. So, question for you. Obviously, you've been watching the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I think I actually haven't. And I'll get into that in a second. But
Oh.
we're actually an hour into a game that matters right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
actually. You know what? Well, while we're there, I got
no, I haven't. You know, and so
So
through
s-
COVID, like, you know, with the restrictions. So the work that I do within Bruins Daily is, I manage the organization, but my material involvement, like on the ground, is I do the video work. And obviously video work is from here to you in front of the players, so that doesn't exist in like COVID times.
Right.
So I've used that as a time to actually kind of take a step back. Every time I get into a rink, whether it's an arena or whether it's like arena, like NHL arena, or whether it's an arena I'm going to skate, like it's that same type of like chills that you just got, and I love it. But like when it's work sometimes.
Right.
So like this past year was, you know, and you got to find silver linings wherever you can. I tried to step back and actually not watch a lot of games. You know, just catch up with scores and standings and whatever else.
That's it. Yeah.
But kind of use it as a time to like,
Decompress almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that I can continue from here
Right.
to enjoy it like
Gotcha.
I always have.
Yeah.
awesome.
That makes sense. Yep.
You know, so but anyways, let's turn it over to it.
So I know you're the Bruins daily and everything, but do you have an open mind with it? Because I've become like, I'm an underdog guy anyway, but I was just telling him, I'm like, I feel like I've become like almost like a Canadians fan because I've been rooting for him. Like that whole.
You're sure you're allowed to say that?
I'm not. We're gonna bleep that out.
Logo's gonna be blue and red next week.
But yeah, I was just telling like Toronto's up 3-1 in the series, and then beautiful Toronto fashion, they just shit the bed.
Yeah, it's just what they do.
And then the Canadians come through, and then Jets were next, and we're both of us in the podcast like, oh yeah, Jets is just gonna cream them, and they swept the Jets, and here they are beating Vegas last night. I'm like, what's your opinions on Montreal from what I guess you've seen or know?
Before you dive into, would you describe yourself as a Bruins fan, or is there another team that you're more of a fan of, or are you kind of neutral
Bruins
across
fan
the
by
board?
blood, born and raised here. Like you're born with, like the Bruins in it. Like it's just like the Patriots and the Red Sox and everything else.
Right.
Like, you don't have an option. Like, you always get that one kid at school that wants to stir the pot and say he's a Yankees fan, but like maybe he is, and maybe his dad is or mom's from New York, but like most of the time they're just stirring the pot.
Poor kid.
It's like the Connecticut people from New England.
And back then it meant more too. Now that we've become such a winning city, like we're all more open-minded about like being sports fans, or like not caring about the Yankees as much, and not caring about Montreal, for example.
Right.
But I can honestly say that yes, I am a Boston fan, and you can't get away from that. Like you bleed black and gold. That's just what you do here.
Right.
But I'm a hockey fan, and any hockey game I can get into. You turn on something that's like coming from Russia, I'm in. I'm all in. And
that's difficult to say in Boston. You're just like as a hockey fan, because like you're like, no, everyone here is just diehard like Boston fans. Like I'll say that at work, I'll be like, oh, like I like the Canadians game, and everyone just gives me that look, just like, what the fuck you doing?
So I used to like, this is going back years, but I used to have a Canadian shirt. Like I had a friend that worked at Reebok, and like they had a store on their campus when it was in Canton over here.
Yeah, the place is awesome.
It was
I had a
good,
friend that
right?
worked there too.
Yeah, so you went through the same thing.
Yeah.
You go over there. It's some awesome stuff, right?
They did, yeah.
So like, yeah, I got my Bruins shirt, but there was an awesome Canadian shirt, And there wasn't a day that I wore it that I didn't catch shit for it here in Boston.
Absolutely.
Because like, why would you ever do that?
Right.
And it's not that I'm not supporting the Bruins. Like they're always number one, but like, I just love hockey. There's certain NHL franchises that I'm a big fan of.
Right.
But by and large, like if you take them all, there's probably only 4. So like, yeah, I'm in. Like if the Bruins are out, you got to make a selection, right?
Right. Exactly.
And that usually comes down to me, like is who has the same characteristics as the team in Boston.
It's Montreal this year, I would say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And by characteristics, it's however you define it too. Like for me, that's like. If you could take a team of all Patrice Bergerons, like he's the gentleman of the league.
Yeah,
like
right.
And he's got the skill to back it up, and he's humble about it, and like he's just everything that hockey should be. So like I don't want to go here because there's probably going to be people that'll be angry with me, but like like St. Louis, not my favorite team.
Oh.
Why? Because when they won in Boston, they weren't gentlemen.
Right.
At all. Chicago, Bruins lost to Chicago.
That was Heartbreak Hill, right?
Yeah. But they were gentlemen, and you couldn't not like them.
Hate
it's
'em,
like
yeah.
Tom Brady.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
damn, they're good, and they beat you, but
Right.
like, if they're a gentleman about it, you can't be mad.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
Professional about it.
St. Louis, yeah. So,
Did you end up filling out a bracket this year or no?
No, I was out on all
Oh,
of it
yeah.
again.
Out-
Like, and I know
entirely,
where
okay.
it stands, and like I'm following it, but I'm so on the peripheral right now.
Okay.
So we were
Potentially
both
so, right?
we're both out as of last night. We both had the Vegas Golden Knights winning the cup, but as of last night, that's out of the question.
Yeah, that sucks too. So I love Vegas.
Yeah.
I really do. Like
I do too.
I love the heart of that.
I bought like a hat like before the team even
Yeah,
came around.
likewise.
I love
Yeah.
the Kraken too. You see the
Yeah.
alternate logo?
I haven't got into the Kraken yet, but I could get in the Kraken.
So their regular logo is the S with the eye, so it looks like the Kraken's like
Yeah.
tentacle. The alternate logo is an anchor, and the like point of the anchor is the Seattle Space Needle. I thought it was
no
like
way.
very
That's
cool
super
design.
Cool. Yeah, I got to look that up. I haven't seen it yet.
It's cool.
But yeah, I could get into them. But what I loved about Vegas, we did some like with Bruins Daily, some like
following of like how that team was like being set up and the
Right.
organization. The management is freaking awesome.
Yes.
The ownership is freaking awesome, and they drafted right the first year. You know,
I heard they kind of like this is just like the way that I took it in. They kind of like hardballed people too. Like, hey, I'll not take this guy if you swing me a draft pick, and
I
I'll
didn't
send you
know
this
that,
guy
actually.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't know that, or you
I did not. No.
That's like what I've heard, but I haven't like found any like sources for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to substantiate that type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not saying
but-
it doesn't happen. It probably did.
But they're like, I won't take this guy, but you'll give me like a second round draft pick, and here's this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that stuff happens.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's business, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And it is a business. So, but like they put together a good locker room.
Yeah.
You know, good personalities. So that's the team. Great. Now, where's your audience?
Right.
That team, like, it's not Phoenix. Like, Phoenix has struggled.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's the same type of place. It's in the desert. You get a lot of transiency. So, like, yes, you have a lot of people that are hockey fans for somebody else, but somewhere else. But what are you going to do with it? Like, you know, whether it was Phoenix or now like Arizona, I think that you know, 2 years ago it like switched.
But
was
you
it 2
you
years
don't
ago?
you don't
It
see like
was-
the
yeah, it was 2
comparison
years
of
ago,
like
yeah.
you don't see the comparison of like Florida Tampa where all of their support is away fans because people go to Vegas to
Yeah.
travel. You go to Vegas to a Vegas Golden Knights game, it's still Vegas fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
and that's
It's
what
pretty
everyone
cool.
said about them. That, yeah, you know, we're gonna put a team there because from a business perspective, just like you said, stadium will be filled with Bruins fan every time the Bruins are playing there. And Tampa Bay is playing there. You know, stadium will be because that it's switched over a little bit in Florida, right?
Oh
But,
yeah.
like,
Now that they've got
still
the
happens. It's
the
like
skill.
50-50, 80-20.
Yeah.
We should go in. We should actually talk about. I don't know how much time we have, but like
Oh, we
we
got
should
plenty
talk
of
about
time.
like the makeup of different arenas. But anyways, look, anywhere the Bruins go, there's a ridiculous following
Amount of
locally.
fans. Yeah.
Original
You
six.
know,
You would see
yeah.
that with
Right.
Chicago too.
It
You
is.
know what
It's
I mean?
in family bloodlines. It's like and there's different. We've interviewed people to ask them about that stuff, but it's cool.
Right.
You know, it's unlike any other team. Even
No.
I would argue the other teams in the original six.
You always see Bruins fans like in the stands. Like my brother moved down
Yeah.
to Florida, and like Florida Panthers.
Florida's Boston
Florida's
Junior.
all Boston anyway.
Yeah,
But
it
like
is.
you go to Toronto or like Montreal, and like they show like they pan out to like the fans, and there's like you see Bruins fans. Like Tara, my girlfriend, went to school in at Quebec for Bishop's University. She's a big Bruins fan, so Bruins all over the place. And back to what we're talking about Canadians Bruins. All the Canadians fan were giving them shit. Like they would leave like notes on their cars saying like fuck the Bruins and like all this stuff. But you would still, she was there and she would still see people from Quebec and like Toronto, Vancouver that were coming over there that were Bruins fans,
Big time.
not living in Boston, but being Vancouver, Toronto, be like, yeah, we're just Bruins fans. We're just
Yeah.
grown that way. So it's such a weird team that's like, it's like you don't really have to be in Boston, but I can't think of another team that's like that. Like, do you know anyone here that's just like an Arizona Coyotes like fanboy here?
Can't really make the comparison, but,
But
I
yeah,
get what you're
you
saying.
see what I'm
though.
saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It is different. I mean, you like, yeah, I know like a couple of people, including one guy that works for us, you know, are big like Pittsburgh fans. But it's close, you know, and it's also got some history, right?
Right.
Like I know actually a ton of Vegas fans here in Boston now.
I love it.
So, like-
I just think my thing with Vegas is like it's the best team because it's every team in the league said you're not worthy to make our protected roster. Vegas took those people and brought them all the way to the Cup
Yeah.
Finals, and they had a big
Unbelievable.
middle finger ready for them all.
Yeah.
Like we're the like misfits, you know.
Yeah.
It was cool.
And
That's what I
a
liked about
driver,
it.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
that whole story, it's what a story.
Right.
But it didn't end there, you know, because everyone's like, that's a one-season thing. Like,
No, they got
Cinderella
continued
story,
success.
great, you know. But, yeah, it's going to keep on going. And getting back what I really – so, like, we followed, like, the development of, you know, the team there, and we followed, like, the development of the fan base. And I was blown away that, like, everybody was proven wrong earlier in the game. When they opened season ticket sales, it wasn't like the Ace Tickets of the world buying them. It was
Right.
families, you
Right.
know.
That's cool.
And the average, I think, like, it was an odd number. Like, they were saying, so there's actually a Boston guy that was with the Bruins that's the head of PR out there now and started with them. But he was saying, I think, it was an odd number. So, like, the ticket brokers of the world don't buy odd numbers. Like, whatever, like, it was like 3 tickets or 5 tickets, whatever it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like the family. And,
Wow.
And that's great. And, you know, you can look at those stats and the league or the franchise can sell that to you all day
Yeah.
because they can spin it that way. But then you actually go to a game and you're like, wow, they're right.
you know?
Right.
It was 2019 normal times,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that arena was full of Golden Knights fans. And again, like, you can't help but getting a good, healthy mix of Bruins fans
Right.
in there.
Mhm.
But it was not what the media expected. And the
No.
media expected 100% Bruins fans and some guy wearing a Golden Knights shirt because he just got it on the strip for free or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
Didn't work out like that, you know, and it's gonna keep on going. And there's so many people that just have gotten like wrapped up in that, you know, and keep on going. Like all the retirement communities that are out there, like these people come from all over the place, some from hockey markets, some from not, but the commonality that I've seen, so my girlfriend's parents live out in Summerlin, which is in Vegas, and it's an over 65 community, and them and all their friends, none of them were hockey fans until like 2 years ago.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
You know,
That's
like,
awesome.
2 years ago, and now like they're yelling at the TV screen, you know, and they know every player and they know what's going on.
Kick his
and-
ass, Revo.
Yeah, it keeps on going.
It helps when you have a great team like the way they are. Like they came out running, just ready to go. And I'll admit I was that guy. I remember seeing you at the rink in Hingham with the Vegas Golden Knights. Like, what are you doing? Just like, I'm thinking of the Strip, and I'm like, it's just gonna be just random fans there, just gambling on the team. I was just like so negative about it, but like I was so wrong. Actually, I'm glad I am because I'm a Golden Knights fan too. Like I love them, but you were all in. You were all in, and I was So
Yeah, before you even know if it was going to be something, you know.
Yeah.
But
Right.
there was something special there from the start. There really was. And I also got to say, their gear is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
it is.
yeah.
Do you like the white gloves and the gold helmets too? Like those are a
the
little out
gold
there
helmets
for me.
are like,
Those are a little out there for
Right.
me.
Yeah, but it's no matter what they do, even if there's like it's very divisive, it's still pretty friggin' good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But their hats are awesome. It's actually one of the things that the Bruins with black and gold, it's tough to get like a really good look. You know,
Yeah,
like
right.
a really good hat. It's one of the things I was always envious of Montreal for, because again, you're from Boston, you're not allowed to love like even mention Montreal, but like that gear is so freaking good.
Right.
You know, and the
Like-
ranges too with the like, you know, those
Yeah,
colors just
classic.
work, you know.
Like I want to carry Price
And
jersey, but my
obviously you
girlfriend
can
won't let me do
see
it.
that I'm not one to get away from red, white, and blue. So,
Right.
but you know, it's just, you know, there's some teams that I think that are just naturally like they're predisposed to just having really cool gear, and with all the different colors that, you know, and just the whole flashiness of Vegas, like
Right.
what they've
It's
done
perfect.
with their gears.
Yeah.
Perfect. It really is.
They
Look at their
branded it.
jerseys too. Right?
Yeah.
It's like that first year. Remember in the beginning of, I thought it was just the first game, but it was beginning of every game. Who's the mascot that came out and they had this show before the game? Remember he's
Oh, the
fighting
night,
the
yeah.
mascot
Yeah.
or something like that. I'm like, that was awesome. Like I loved the way they did that.
They make it like a whole show. There's entertainers there. There's like Lil Jon's there one night doing some shit. You know,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah, and that's
It's
by
Vegas.
design. You know,
Yeah.
before they even started, they, you know, at their first press event, they said, "Yeah, you know, this is going to be a show because it's Vegas."
As
Right,
they should.
exactly, as
As
they
they
should.
And that
yeah.
wasn't the
It
first
just makes
game.
sense.
It wasn't the first year. It's going to be everything for the
Right.
future of the franchise.
So we
Sure,
have
yeah.
do you have a score update on that other game?
Yeah, I
Um,
actually have it up right now.
We have Montreal going to the Stanley Cup final.
Oh, here we go.
They just knocked out Vegas.
So let's see. We're in the second period with 17 minutes left. Lightning is up 1-0. This is Game 7.
And for you listeners too, it's Friday, June 25th. Just so you know.
We were just talking about this before too. The shots on goal seems to not matter because we talk about games where just like a team has 45 shots on goal compared to 16, and the team with 16 shots wins the game. But Lightning with 16 shots on goal and Islanders with 8. But we saw this actually the other night with the Islanders Lightning too. Is like Lightning was all over them, and then Lightning was just like, all right, we'll get our shit into gear, and they came through and won the game in overtime.
That game winner was ridiculous too. Did you see all the beer cans on the ice by any chance?
I didn't.
They
no.
called it Long Island
Oh, my
confetti.
God.
After they won in overtime, they're just chucking their empty cans on the ice.
I love it.
And one of the players in an interview actually said, going into overtime, the entire arena smelled like cigarettes. So this is like the last hurrah, basically, for Nassau Coliseum because it's closing at the end of the season. So that could have been their last game based on how this game ends.
Right.
So I think everyone was just stressing, and like security probably doesn't give a shit anymore. They're just smoking cigarettes in the stadium.
Yeah.
And then he said after overtime, it smelled like beer in the place. I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Not a surprise at all.
I love it. I thought it was so
It's an
funny.
It's an interesting crowd down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who are you guys pulling for?
I want to hear you first. So we
Yeah,
have
right.
Montreal on one side. If it's Tampa or New York, Take your pick, whatever. What
Yeah,
do
it's
you
gonna be New
think?
York.
Going to be New York. You think?
Wow,
Yeah.
you have New York. I have Tampa.
Yeah. Well, I honestly feel like they're the underdog.
I think
you know?
Kucherov got injured last game too, so that's another
that's a big-
another
that's
part
a
of
big
it.
one.
So I think you might be right with New York.
So Islanders, this is Montreal. So
Just
who
a
do you,
cool matchup too, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I think they're almost like a very similar team.
Like I talked about, like again, like almost every franchise I love, right, and can watch a game. I don't know, like it's not a negative thing for me, like because I think Tampa Bay has done some amazing things
right.
throughout their history, but so I don't dislike them, but they're just kind of neutral for me,
Okay.
Right.
you know. I mean, maybe some of that's like the experiences that I've had when I've like visited down there, you know, been in their building. But it's just kind of like I'm very neutral on it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Like there's other, you know, teams that like Vancouver, they've had their struggles.
Yeah.
But like I love Vancouver, you know.
It's awesome there. From what I
Yeah.
hear.
The city is great,
It's beautiful over there. Yeah.
but like it's like their building is great, and you know I don't know, like I can get behind their team. I guess it's hard for me to always like put my finger on why, right? But like you know, I mean the Islanders, you know, I can get behind that now.
Right.
You know, and they, I guess, were neutral in the past for me, but are now less neutral than
Yeah.
than
Mhm.
I
Tampa
think
Bay.
Barry Trotz has a big thing to do with that too. Just he's getting way more out of guys that he shouldn't be getting things
yeah.
out of. You know.
We saw that with the Bruins series too.
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable. Like the Bruins couldn't get shots in the blue line at all.
Yeah.
Like just big dudes just like blocking those shots. And I think that's all Barry Trotz, because we were just saying, like, even if the Bruins could get a shot through or just even get through, there were guys just laying the body down and just, you know, so.
So who
But-
do you have? What are you thinking?
So I got Tampa winning this series. So it'll be Tampa versus Montreal. And, God, everything in me wants to say Tampa, but I feel like either team that gets out of this with the Game 7 New York Islanders versus Tampa, this series, I think, just put a hurting on both teams altogether. Like, both teams are they're just up and down, just, I wouldn't say struggling, but, like, really working hard throughout this entire series. And I think with that said, I think Canadians could have a chance with either team coming into the Stanley Cup Finals. So I think Montreal is going to have a better chance of winning the Stanley Cup this year.
And for me, I think I've been a mush this entire series, like this entire postseason, just getting everything wrong. I'm just gonna go Montreal, and they're probably gonna lose because I picked them. But I think I'd like to
I'll
see
stand
Montreal
there
win
with
it.
you then.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Like it's honestly, I think that you can't go wrong here.
Right.
I think the
All
league and
all
the
three of
media,
these teams, honestly.
everyone's
Right.
pumped.
Right, exactly.
With what the matchups are.
Yeah.
You know, and especially in a year like this where it's such a crazy time in the world, right? I think the league has got to be really happy with the way that it shook out.
Especially
yeah.
where you look at like all the stories they've gotten out of it, like Toronto, Colorado, Vegas, all the top teams gone. See you
Yeah.
later. And now it's like could be New York, could be Montreal. You know.
Now it's just these underdogs now
Yeah.
in the finals, and it's just like, wow.
And
Well,
it
I mean,
shows you
Tampa-
that like it's all about depth and how you build a team. Honestly, like Montreal, it doesn't look like they're built for it, but you
It's
get a
also-
hot goalie, you get some like strong fourth line, third line players, and
Right.
you're good to go.
It's also getting hot at the right time. Montreal just got hot at the perfect time, and look at where they are.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like that was Boston's story in 2019.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
They almost got it done. you
Right,
know?
exactly.
But I don't think most of the people would have said like that's the team going. You know.
Yeah,
back then.
I agree.
Right,
I agree.
right, for sure. You know.
You know,
That's
they
how it goes.
I don't
grounded
think
out that entire
I
season.
still said I don't think the Bruins even deserve to be where they were. I think Tuukka Rask and a handful of the players were the ones that got them to where they were. But when the St. Louis Blues took them in Game 7, I was like, I don't know. I didn't really expect them to get this far to begin with.
I mean, you can't go any further, honestly.
Right.
That's it. So
Right.
end of the line. I'm gonna hit you guys with the hard question right now. I've heard a lot of shit about Tampa winning the cup during the COVID year, giving them an asterisk because they're in the bubble, they win it there. Do you guys think Montreal, if they win it all, deserves an asterisk because they basically not cheated, but now the North Division guaranteed someone from Canada is going to the conference finals to be one of the 4 teams in the playoffs?
Still got to go through your bracket. All is fair. All is well that ends well.
Right,
You know. And
right.
I don't know. They're like if there were 1,000 teams and they still surface to the top, they're still in the finals.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
So, you know, I don't know. I don't think.
I
any
don't
of
think
that
there's an
matters.
asterisk.
But you were
either.
one of the ones that put it on the Tampa Bay bubble team, though.
Yeah, I said I don't know if I was joking around, but I was like, because there's so many stories from like the players that came out. Tuukka Rask was one of them, and a few other players too. I can't remember the names to name them, but they're just like, COVID was just so different. Like COVID really shut everything down, and for like a professional hockey player, like it was just like a different time, and especially like they're away from their families, like stuck in this bubble to play playoff hockey. That didn't feel like playoff hockey because there's no fans in the stage. So a lot of the guys came out just like it just felt like we were just playing a game. Like there was no hype for like the Stanley Cup. There's no we thought we were just playing a game. So I'm not gonna take the Stanley Cup away from Tampa whatsoever at all. But it was just a weird time for the bubble, playoff hockey.
So let's flip that over to you. You said you both agreed, like, no, we shouldn't put an asterisk on Montreal. How did you feel about Tampa in the COVID bubble? Fine too.
Nobody needs an asterisk. Yeah, if you win, you win. Everybody's playing under the same terms. Everyone's like the whole point of like brackets, right, is to surface somebody to the top.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's successful in doing that, and whoever's the best team theoretically should surface.
Right.
That makes sense, but I also think like regardless, we've now guaranteed that one team from Canada is going to make it to the conference finals. I saw this on NHL Network's Instagram page. Canadian teams' most recent Stanley Cup final appearance: Vancouver Canucks 2011, Ottawa Senators 07, Oilers 06, Flames 04, and the Maple Leafs 1967. Jets have never made it there. And now, thanks, in my opinion, like this is the way that I'm looking at it a little bit, is like the Canadians, once one team from Canada made it out of their North Division, they only have to win one game to get to the Cup finals. And now that Montreal has done it, I don't know, it just seems like a little kind of like, I don't know how to describe it basically. Like Canada has like, it's been fixed that a Canadian team is going to get to the Cup finals almost. Because they don't have to beat one team to get there now.
I think we could both, like all of us could just sit here and like argue both sides of it.
Right.
Oh yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
If it was adult hockey, going back to my expertise, like if you guaranteed somebody who was playing at Warrior Ice Arena was going to surface to the top, and then like all the other locations, like, I don't know, call it like whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
the other rinks around here, right?
So they combine the other however many rinks, like they're both technically at the same level, but like that game could be a blowout when you get there.
Right.
The way that the NHL works, it's just never going to happen that way.
No.
It's structured to make sure every team's as competitive as possible.
Right.
The way that the draft is structured, and the, just the whole business. So like, I still don't think that it's unfair. They made the best of what they could do in these times,
right.
And every team is kind of neck and neck with every other team, in general, right? And I don't think that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, is it possible that they're not going to win the cup because they were put in that position?
I agree.
They would be in the game, in the series, because of that. But the best team will prevail no matter what. That's just the way it works.
Right.
And it will be a competitive series because that's how the league's set up.
Love it.
And they did also have to work to where they are. It's not like they just got a free pass.
But what I'm saying is, like, to get to the conference finals, no matter what happens, a Canadian team will be there.
That's what you're saying.
I think if you're going to make the argument of, like, let's talk about, like, who gets to play in the big games, then, yeah, it was totally unfair. But if you're going to talk about who gets to walk off the ice with the cup and spend a day with it,
still
it's
earned
not
it.
unfair.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
Cool.
Okay, so I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. So actually, before I'm shocked you brought those out.
Yeah, I figured I'd grab them. Would you like to do a nip with us? We do a nip at the end of every episode.
So,
you don't have to. If
you don't
want
have to.
I never.
They're all pretty
wanted to say
garbage.
no to the sour watermelon Mr. Stack's liquor.
Is that the one that caught your eye?
Whatever you do, do not take that 99.
Smeared off
Well, that's going to
watermelon.
you. So this looks like straight, most likely sugar. So
What are we looking at there? Oh, 18%. He'll be all right.
Oh, okay.
18%,
That's like 2 of your beers.
made with all natural flavors.
Ooh, it's organic.
It's as though I'm eating a watermelon. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you for having me on.
Thank you
for coming
so
on.
much for coming on.
It was
Appreciate
good
it.
being here.
So
This is cheers to Stinky Socks.
cheers to Stinky Socks. Cheers.
Cheers.
That wasn't that bad, to be honest. How was that?
Should make a little note on this that says, like, after drink and 2 weeks later make an appointment with your dentist. Holy crap! Like, that's like straight sugar.
Sugar bomb.
That was bad. Those are the free ones you got.
I wouldn't
right?
say no. Like, I'm not gonna say no,
Right.
but I'm just saying it's a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, these are the freebies, really.
Those are the
What'd you
freebies.
get?
I had to buy that one.
watermelon, too. All
I had to buy that one, but
That one's
Stax was-
49.5%.
Yeah, that's heavy.
I bought a variety pack of those, and I don't think I'll ever buy them again. I've been struggling through them every episode.
Oh my
now.
god, it's been great.
Jesus.
99
It's-
proof.
It's been karma and beautiful. So I bought a bunch of different ones that like I've never heard of
You
before.
bought,
and
like
tried it.
Canadian LTD whiskey,
Whiskey
and, like,
and stuff.
Glenlivet. What else? No, they were not Glenlivet.
It was not at Glenlivet.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty.
That one's like a
highbrow
good
stuff,
one.
huh?
Yeah, but they were like.
There was
random things.
a bunch of different random ones, but man, at the end of the episode, I'm just like I would take it and I'd be on the ground just hurting, and then he was just laughing. He goes, "Dude, I don't think you could drink." And now we got the 99, and now I'm looking over and be like, "Yeah, that's right, buddy.
Yeah,
Like,
let
you
me
can't
get
take those either."
Let me get a nip of ruble while I'm at it.
Really surprised you didn't push that over to the new guy here.
Yeah. Here you go, bud. This is for
Hey,
you.
I'll
Thank
take
you.
that.
A little white out.
I heard it's really good.
Proof, you know?
But so I want to thank you so much for having you on. If you want to tell the audience where they could find you,
Sure,
Stinky
yeah.
Socks.
If you want to check us out, regardless of whether you're here in the Boston area or beyond, if you just want to see what we do and what we're all about, you can visit us online at StinkySocks.net. So www.stinkySocks.net.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Do you guys have social for you too? Instagram, Facebook, anything like that? Everything? You name it.
We do, yeah. So Twitter is at StinkySocksTwit. And Instagram, I believe, is at Stinky Socks Hockey.
We'll throw these all in the description too below.
Yeah,
so-
Right, to help
we've-
everyone out.
We've gone through all the iterations, and Facebook is Puck411.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool.
Awesome. So thank you
I
so
got that right off the top of my head because it's changed throughout the year. So.
We'll fix it all down below later. No worries.
thank
We'll figure it
We
out.
do it every week. We screw everything up. Can't pronounce anyone's name. We don't know who's playing where. We're hardly a hockey podcast.
Later on, you'll have like my lips moving and somebody else like dubbing the audio in with the correct information. So
Cool. All
All
good?
right. Yeah,
All right.
well,
yeah, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. If there's anything you want to see us cover next episode, let us know. Our links are in the description, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Be well.